What's up, guys? This is Dylan. We just filmed the FOMO show this morning, but there's some big news that just dropped, like always, before I can get the video edited. But I can't even with this. So apparently, Sony has backed out of the Marvel deal that put Spider-Man in the MCU. So, according to IGN, from what I'm seeing, like IGN and BuzzFeed are saying that Spider-Man will no longer be in the MCU. I'm seeing on Deadline and some of these other sources that uh, that they're not moving forward with the Spider-Man deal. So I don't know what that means for a third Spider-Man movie. So a little history. So a few months back, when Spider-Man Far From Home first came to theaters, there was like a leak that said if Spider-Man Far From Home made $1 billion in the box office, that that creative rights were going to move to Marvel, and they would have creative control over the third Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland. And this was also the last one in the Sony Marvel contract. I want to say he signed on for 6 movies, and we got for Civil War, in Spider-Man Homecoming, we got Infinity War, Endgame, and now Far From Home. That's 5. One more makes 6. So that would round out the Spider-Man trilogy, right? Well, what is being reported is that after Spider-Man Far From Home made $1 billion in the box office, um, Disney came to Sony and was like, "Hey," uh, and it should also be said that Spider-Man Far From Home is now Sony's biggest film ever, surpassing James Bond for their highest grossing film ever. So it's like, I mean, this Deadline article says, like, the Bulls, like the 90s basketball team, would say, "Hey, you know what, Michael Jordan, we got this. We're going to win the championship without you." You're not. I mean, you might put up a fight, you might do okay, but you're not going to win the championship. So basically, I mean, this Spider-Man would not have done what it did. It wouldn't be as popular without the help of Kevin Feige and Marvel behind it, which is obvious. Fans were excited for the deal and everything moving forward and the direction it was going. Spider-Man playing with the Avengers, all that in the greater MCU universe. But now Sony, it seems, and I never trusted Sony. It's just they're I just don't like uh, I just don't like Sony. It's like Sony is your friend when you go, you say, "Hey, you want to go get some food? We'll go Dutch. I'll pay me." And they're like, "Yeah, yeah, absolutely." And then when you get there and they ordered everything under the sun and gathered this big bill, and you're all the time thinking, "I'm just paying for me, they're paying for them." They like, "Oh, dude, I forgot my wallet," and then hit you with the bill and never pay you back. That's Sony in my eyes. Like, that's what Sony did to Marvel, hung them out to dry. Now, it should be said also that Disney Marvel does have merchandising rights to Spider-Man. They never gave those up in the deal in the 90s and all that kind of stuff when they were selling off their properties to avoid bankruptcy. Original Marvel, not Marvel Disney. Um, but now, also, obviously, Marvel is one of the most lucrative properties on the planet. Um, and Sony has rode that to its highest heights right now. So now that they did well with Into the Spider-Verse, which was a cartoon, and you can get away with a lot more in a cartoon, and they've already failed at two different iterations of Spider-Man. Um, so now in this third one, they're getting cocky, and they're like, no, I think we got it, Disney. So yeah, so basically Disney, after it made $1 billion in the box office, Disney was like, "Hey, how about we go in 50-50?" Which seems like a fair deal. And Sony was like, "You know what? This is our most lucrative property. Go screw yourself, Disney." Turned it down flat, is what the reports are saying. um, So Disney was like, what? What do you mean? And they were like, well, in fact, let's not even move forward. So they're not Disney and Sony. The negotiations have broken down, and I got to say, I mean, hardcore fans probably knew at some point this was going to happen. It was too good to be true. It wouldn't last. Blah blah blah. But it's sad. It's like, what the heck are you doing, Sony? What are you doing? Why? Why? What are you doing? Hopefully, there's enough backlash for Sony. The next thing they put out, of course, they've got the deal that Sony has with Marvel to have the film rights to Spider-Man is that they have something in production every 2 to 3 years, which is why after the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man Part 4 with Sam Raimi fell apart, why they pushed out the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man franchise so quickly, and everybody was kind of like, "Whoa, this is a really fast reboot." Well, it's because they had to have something in production uh, under a certain statute of time to keep their rights. And then after the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man did very, very poorly in the box office because, I mean, I think fans were probably just pissed off. Andrew Garfield was a decent Spider-Man, not that great of not that great of Peter Parker, but I mean, it was what it was, and they were actually they were exploring stories that were more interesting as far as like Gwen, but but there's some things that they just got outright wrong, you know. But Sony's record, like here recently with Men in Black and International, it's like they don't have a good track record. Marvel came in, held their hand, led them to greatness, and now they're like, oh no, we can do this, we got that, and it's just I just don't understand. I mean, it's all about money, and it sucks, but Sony does not realize what they've got in the palm of their hand, and I mean, it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense, and I could blame Amy Pascal. She always seemed a little shifty to me. She was the one like in the meeting. When they announced it with Kevin Feige, was like, yeah, Spider-Man's going to play with Venom and all these other characters. And Kevin Feige was like, what? And but that seemed to be Sony's plan all along to try to put them together. And even recently at Comic-Con, Kevin Feige said that, or maybe before Comic-Con, somebody asked him if it was inevitable that Spider-Man and Venom would be in the same movie, because everybody was like, oh, okay, well, if they can play together with Spider-Man, then why couldn't they play with Venom and have some of these other properties come in and just kind of merge the universes? And it looked like maybe that's the direction things were going, but all of a sudden now it's hit a brick wall and it's out, which is huge news, and it's breaking fans' hearts all over the world right now. Um, Although that we did get information that there will be another Matrix movie with the Wachowskis and Carrie-Anne Moss and Keanu Reeves. Pretty good deal with that, but mixed bag today with the end of the Spider-Man franchise. I mean, that just after Far From Home did so well in the box office and really set up some great things. This always happens. It really sucks because and right on the heels of them announcing that Spider-Man Far From Home was coming back to theaters uh, on Labor Day weekend, and adding like 4 extra minutes of action sequence or something to kind of get like a victory lap or whatever, and then give you another chance to go see Spider-Man, because it was a really good movie. I mean, it didn't make $1 billion for no reason, but this is very, very disheartening to see Sony just kind of like self-destruct, I mean, is a good word I could think of, but very, very sad to see this. I mean, I don't think that Disney was asking for anything unreasonable after having guided Sony all this way, and really came in when they were really struggling, because they could have just let Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield, you could have just let him go and not sign the deal. and but Sony is really, really screwing Disney here in the middle of everything being good, trying to flex with muscles they don't have that they think they have, and it's just sorry to see. Sorry to see. But I think that's it. That's all the information that's out on it right now. I mean, Marvel, Kevin Feige have a solid track record. I mean, not a single fumble in 10 years with all these. I mean, some didn't do as good as others, but not a single flop. You know, it does not, it boggles my mind. It does not make sense why Sony would uh, not even negotiate, just turn it down flat and say no. Because as of, I'm not sure if I said this, but I mean, right now the deal is Disney gets 5% of the opening day revenue, and that is it. That is it. That is it. And Sony gets the rest. So, I mean, it makes sense that Disney would come back to the negotiating table at this point and say, hey, look, let's go in halfsies, you know. But Sony turned them down flat. Didn't even say, hey, you know what, maybe 70-30, 60-40. None of that. Just like, nope. They're just being extremely stingy and bullheaded and ridiculous right now. That I think I'm saying, I think I could speak for a lot of fans right now that feel the same way. But uh, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Do you guys agree? Do you think Sony's being stupid? Do you think Sony's making a good business decision? Because they've got Morbius, they've got possibly Kraven the Hunter, they've got Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse. They're doing well right now. They're making a power play, and it's savvy business or whatever. Let me know what you think. Hit it up down in the comments, and we'll talk to you next time. Peace.